you have any discussions so far? Anything? Anything that made you start thinking, or any questions? Any questions? No questions? What about girls? No question? No? Yeah. Yeah.
We were speaking about expecting permanent happiness is a natural phenomenon. So, with relation to management, because everything is changing.
That's why the whole thing is that if everything is changing that we know, have you actually searched for anything that is permanent?
But how can you do that in management, when you're actually in the corporate world, where everything is changing? What is...
So you have to find also in your company some changeless principle on which you're going to base it, isn't it? Yeah? See, so tell me, if your policies just keep on changing, will there be any stability? It's only on permanence. Remember my answer to that man sitting up there? That the substratum of the world. If everything is constantly changing, is there something changeless or not? And anything that you manage, if it's not based on something changeless, there will be no stability in it, isn't it? Relatively. Is it not? So try to apply that. At least you have some policy must be stable. Suppose staff keep on changing every day and there is no permanent manager. See what will happen? If there is no stable policy of the company, each one wins and fancy does whatever you want. Take the school itself, college itself. If there was not a clear cut vision, which you keep on referring back to, which is your permanent factor, what will happen? Each one new comes here, changes something. Each year something changes. Each day something changes. Why the school, college does not run according to the whims and fancies of the students? If it did, what would happen? Temporarily students would be very happy, isn't it? But eventually what would happen? There would be no policy. Is it not? Because each student will want something different. And if it is going to work on the basis of the 2,000 or 3,000 students which are here, and each one's whims and fancies, they can come in whatever time, they want classes at night, what will happen? There has to be some regulatory permanence, is it not? That you know that you come to college on this time, you leave on this time. Something is permanent there. Based on permanent only, in between you are given a certain flexibility. That is where your innovation and all come up. Otherwise, you just leave it free and open. What will happen? Each one does whatever he feels like doing. Get it? So everything is based actually on holding on to something permanent. If each day your goals keep on changing, what will happen? You can't. So everything has to be pivoted, to the center, to the goal. If that does not take place, then everything else is meaningless. It's because of that only when the rishis started inquiring as to, you can hear me clearly? Because the mic is really disturbing. When the rishis started inquiring, we call them rishis, they were thinkers. They're not a particular race or being of people. When they started inquiring that what we are actually seeking is something which is permanent, because permanent, everlasting happiness can come only from that which is permanent, not from something which is impermanent. That's logical and common sense, right? But our observation of the world is that everything is changing. Yet our expectation of the world is permanent happiness. And our experience tells us that permanent happiness is not possible. Therefore, get the maximum while you can. So depending upon your concept of yourself, your understanding of yourself, your belief of yourself, and your knowledge of yourself, they're all different. But very often we just have a belief, we have a concept. Rarely do we have the knowledge of it. So depending on your knowledge, that's why we started out with the first thing, no? What was your name? What is your name? Vijay. Vijay started off that survival of the body. Say, I considered this body. The purpose of this body is survival. Now, if I identify with this body, then my purpose will be to survive. Is it not? And body, why do I want it to survive? Because it likes comfort, enjoyment, and basically bottom line is happiness. But body's happiness lies in what? Not survival. Comforts. No? Pleasures. Take a step, it is the senses. We'll go a little deeper, but it is comforts. No? So what do we want for the body? Comfortable, roti, kapda, makan. We want shelter. We need clothing. We need food. These are the basic needs we call, right? Then are we satisfied only with needs? Are we satisfied only with needs? No. Why do we want desires? Why do we desire anything? Enjoyment, isn't it? So body wants enjoyment, even if it is temporary. Yeah, it wants enjoyment. But our condition is more like that person on the upper bunk of the train. Wants to go to Delhi, but sitting in the train to Chennai. You thought it was me, what? Wrong train. And he wanted to go to Delhi. So we want permanent, everlasting happiness, but we are constantly chasing impermanent objects. I'm repeating this about 10 times because that's something that has to go very deep into us. Then the sincere inquiry begins that what is permanent? Or is there anything which is permanent? But if you carefully observe, no change is perceived without a changeless substratum. See, I can move around on this floor because compared to me, this floor is steady and stable. Is it not? Just like the question she asked, no? Yeah, what's your name, beta? Kartika. Just like Kartika asked the question that how do we base this on management? Now, if I want to move around here and this whole thing was moving also, what will be my condition? Yeah? Exactly what our videographer is experiencing when I'm moving, isn't it? Yeah? He would like the choice to move the camera, but I should be stable. Now, if I'm moving, he has to move with it. Yeah? It's very hard to catch up. But suppose I'm moving very fast, he will not be able to. Relate it to me. So this ground has to be stable for you to ride the bicycle, for you to walk. Doesn't that? So another observation was that to experience change, you require a changeless base, substratum, to experience change. Also, another thing which they went on observing, that when they saw that everything you experience is changing, they turned their attention towards who is the seer or experiencer of the change. Let's take this inquiry purely in this manner. I've already given the hints how to apply it to management, its relevance to management. But now let's go in the pure inquiry, then we will see how it relates. When they started inquiring, everything is changing. So the entire world which is experienced is an object. All the objects are constantly changing, but to experience the change, one thing I said, there has to be a changeless base or substratum for change to take place. And to experience the change, the seer of the change must be at a changeless vantage point. See, if you look out of the window and you see about 100 cars, you count 100 cars passing by in the last 1 hour. What does that mean? What does that mean?
We have not been changing our position.
Obviously, you are not in the traffic, is it not? Suppose you were in the traffic, would you be able to see the change?
No.
You would not be able to see the change if you were in the traffic. Because you were changeless, relatively I'm talking, you could see the change. Again, absorbing this law, they recognized that if we are seeing the world changing, there must be a changeless substratum. Secondly, the seer of the change must be changeless. Is it not? The seer of the change must be changeless. So they shifted the attention from the object to the subject. From the object to the subject. Now, same way, take this inquiry in terms of what we want. And we said we want permanent, everlasting happiness. And from there the search of the permanent began. Right? Now when we observe the world, everything is temporary. Therefore in the temporary world, permanent happiness is not possible. Yet we experience little happiness or no?
Yes.
We do experience little happiness. So we say, okay, if little happiness is there in the object, then if I go on piling up my happiness, there are many philosophers who believe that there is no such thing as permanent, but if you keep on adding, you can get permanent happiness. But practically we know that that's not possible, because to get everything at all times, at the right time, each sequentially, is it possible? Logically also not possible, experience wise also it is not possible. So we cannot be permanently happy at all. Isn't it? Conclusion will be that. So let's accept it. But the problem is we can't. It's a natural desire. It's not like you can't get pizza or you can't get nacho. You can accept it. But you can't get happiness. You will not be able to accept it. It's a natural desire. It's not a cultivated desire. Yes, you may not expect it from the changing world. That's possible. Because now that you know, you will not expect it from the changing world. But the desire for permanent happiness, can you give it up? From the world, yes. But you cannot give it up because it's a natural desire. Till you find that which is permanent. They take the inquiry even further to inquire that if happiness, little happiness we are experiencing in the world, little happiness we experience in the world, is the happiness coming from the sense object itself? Is this happiness coming from the sense object itself? Like for example, I take a nice sumptuous piece of pizza. It goes in my mouth. It tastes good. I like it. What I experience, so-called, is an enjoyment which gives me pleasure, which gives me a sense of happiness. But that happiness comes from where? Is it coming from the pizza or is it coming from somewhere else? Have you inquired that?
Somewhere else.
If happiness was in the pizza, if happiness was coming from that object, for example, sweetness is coming from sugar. Is sweetness in the sugar or in your mouth? Sweetness and sugar, we are clear about that, isn't it? But is happiness in the sugar?
No, it's in the mind.
It is the mind. Our perception.
Again, it is not in the object. Isn't it clear? It's not in the object, because if it was the nature of object, it would give everyone happiness at all periods of time. Would it or would it not? It would give happiness at all periods of time. For example, once I was talking to someone, I was giving example of smoking. See, a smoker, when he smokes, he seems to be in bliss. But suppose a non-smoker beside that person, suffocating, the mere smell of it. Now if cigarette has happiness in it, it should give happiness to everybody, no? Sugar is sweet to everybody, it may not give happiness, but it's sweet to everybody. Thus sweetness is the nature of sugar. Right? It can be brown, it can be crystalline, it can be powder, it can be white. Those are all changing qualities of sugar. But sugar at all times is sweet. That's the permanence. Nature is that which is permanent sweetness. You getting the point? But sugar's nature is sweetness. Sugar cannot give happiness to everybody, isn't it? Once I was giving this example, because after all we are asking you to think intelligently, isn't it? So one youngster came up to me and said, Swamiji, I think you Swamis have not done enough merits in your previous life, no punyas. You can't enjoy smoking, you can't enjoy drinking, you can't enjoy this. He came and told me, who says cigarette does not give happiness? Don't tell me cigarette. Those days I should give example of cigarette, you know. If cigarette had happiness, it would give everybody happiness equally, is it not? Like sweetness. They say, but cigarette gives me happiness. Whatever you may say, logically, it gives me happiness. 10 years later, when I went to that place, this man had got married. He had come to my talk, said, I want a private interview. So I said, why? Because somebody insults you, you remember, no? Yeah, always. So I said, why? He said, I want to meet you privately. So I said, okay, come. I was also waiting to meet him. So he came. So I said, what's your problem? Oh, like that, there is no problem. I've got a very nice wife, you know, very nice children. I said, what's the problem? He said, smoking. He didn't remember what he had told me 10 years ago as an arrogant youngster. So I said, why? Your punyas are over? Your merits are over? So he said, what do you mean? He didn't understand that. I didn't want to breathe that. I said, why? Why is cigarette not giving you happiness? He said, cigarette has made my life miserable. The doctor says I'm sick. My wife, she's lovely, she's absolutely wonderful, she loves me, I love her, but she's decided to divorce me because she can't bear my smoking. She said, you're going to kill yourself, I better separate from you before that, you know. And my child has got asthma and I can't do anything. The child gets the smell of smoke also, the child is miserable. And now I'm trying to give up smoking, but I can't give up smoking. Can you help me? So I said, now how come cigarette is not giving you happiness? Same person. In case your logic is, it will not give to everybody, but at least it gives to me. Same person. Why is it not giving? Which means happiness is not the nature of the object. Yet we are experiencing happiness or not? It must be coming from somewhere, no? If it's not the nature of the object, it's the nature of the subject. Is it clear? It's the nature of the subject. Again the inquiry begins where? Whether we are searching for that which is permanent or whether we are searching for that which is happiness, the search begins with the person. It's me. Get the point? So you can understand how important it is to know yourself, that whatever you are seeking, really speaking, you are seeking yourself. But when they started inquiring, first knowledge is that this is me. As long as the body lives, somebody seems to be living. Body dies, somebody is dying. That is your first pratyaksha praman. Means of knowledge is, I see this body, I am there as long as this body exists. When the body grows old or decays, whatever, life is no longer there. So life is dependent on the body was the first observation. But the Rishi started thinking, and again the philosophy according to that, the management philosophy will be according to that of your life. They observe that the body is also constantly changing. And something when it enters the body, like a child is born out of the womb, but doesn't seem to be having any life. You give it a big spanking, yeah. Then it breathes in air, and then screams out. And therefore they said that air gives movement to the body, and that's what they called as life, some philosophers. So they said prana, air which gives movement, because movement is there in air, air which gives movement, prana. Therefore in all our languages his prana has left him, his breath is gone. And we find that the dead person, body is there, as long as breath is going in and out, air is going in and out, he or she is alive. If breath stops moving in and out of the body, the person dies. So immediate inquiry is what? Breath is life. Prana is life. But the question is, in the Upanishads, this question the student has asked. Kena Upanishad is one of the best Upanishads for you to refer, to know who am I. It's called Kena Upanishad in case you make any research. Kena Upanishad. And very often the two words combined together, you will find it as Kena Upanishad. One word. Kenopanishad. It's most amazing. I will take reference from that also. The student's inquiry begins to the teacher that Kene shitam padati preshitam mana Kena prana pratama praiti yuktaha. One who has observed himself, he recognizes that when did the first breath enter inside? Did breath go inside? The body is there. Why is air not going inside? Is there someone else or something else that makes the air inside move? Later on you may say air is moving the body. But who made the first air get into the body? Physical air was there in this body the moment it's born. We are born with a lot of gas. Is it not? But who pulled in the first air? Who took in the first breath? Was there someone or something else that prompted the air to come into this body? So how did the body become alive? Because until and unless someone is there to pull in the breath, the breath cannot. So is the breath that gives life, or life takes in the breath? Wonderful inquiry it is. Have you ever inquired? We all breathe. So they realize that prana or breath is also changing, and because you can regulate the breath, is it not? So I think FM starts in the other room. You can regulate your breath. Everybody nowadays into kriyas and pranas, is it not? Then the controller and the controlled are different things, isn't it? If I can control my breath, then I am other than the breath. So they found the body is not alive by itself. As long as prana is functioning in the body is alive. Means air is functioning in the body, breath is functioning in the body is alive. Breath seems to leave and not come back, body is dead. So they said prana is life. But when the inquiry went further, prana is inert, It may move, wind may move, but it's inert. Who prompted that air to get into this body? Who pulled in the air? Was that being conscious or was that person unconscious? Was there someone there before the breath went inside to pull in the breath to manifest as life? There's a difference. Light in this bulb is not electricity. But light in this bulb is due to electricity. Clear? The bulb does not produce light. So same way they realize the body does not give life because body is there. The same, now science is struggling to find out. They mean to say that when amino acids meet in certain combinations, life comes from the combination of chemicals. This also the Charvak used to say that. Life is nothing but a combination of chemicals. This combination changes. Life ends. That's how they say. But when you inquire, body is there sometimes in the best of condition. That's why they can use your heart in somebody else's heart. You can use your brain in somebody else's brain. So it may be functional, yet it is not alive. What is it that gives life to this body? If it's not air, which is also inert, which is also going in and out, which is controlled by someone. So students' inquiry is there or is there not another factor other than breath that gives life to this body? Because after all, who breathes in and who breathes out? This inquiry began. Then they said, yes, it is this thinking person me. If I think to breathe, if I think to breathe in, so this thinker me, this mind is me. And all of us, this much we can understand. Especially brought up in the Indian culture, we all know that I am not this body. This one day this body has to perish and I am someone other than this body. We all have it in our culture. It's not that everybody in the world has that, mind you. We have grown up in that culture, we have grown up in that system, that all of us know that I am this thinker, feeler, seer, smeller, taster. But these are your sense organs. Its physical equipment is there in this body. For example, the eyes. But you know, now neurologically they have been researching, even those who are blind, from their tongue they can see. It's the latest neurological development. Rishi spoke that long ago. Why in India, especially in South India, we eat with our full palm. So eat with our full palm. Swami Chinmaya was from the south, so he used to laugh at these North Indians, who eat with their, or the English or modern people, fork and spoon. Do you know you eat with all your 5 senses? Why do we all like chips and papad? Food that does not smell, is it appetizing?
No.
That's why, you know, that chong that we put in, with the mustard or garlic or ginger, the sound, the appetite, already hungry, isn't it? The appetite that comes about. See how it happens? So how does it all happen? That actually we are experiencing with all our 5 sense organs. Now balance is in our ears, but it's the feet that send the sensation that the ground is uneven. Earlier, very often they used to say that, and whenever very often I used to speak this in the class, and I would say that see, the body is constantly changing, and every 7 years, they say every cell of your body undergoes change. Every cell of your body undergoes change. And of course, you look at your little baby picture and look at the 6-footer that you are now. Very different, no? And have you ever gone to one of your auntie's house and seen her wedding photographs? And made this very statement, "Auntie, you were so young and beautiful." And she says, "Yeah, that's me." What is she trying to say? What you're trying to say, you're so ugly right now. Huh? You can't believe that that wedding photograph of that aunt of yours, she looked so beautiful, and now she's this wrinkled old woman. She looks nowhere near that. So we know how the body is constantly changing. They used to tell me, "Swamiji, no, that's because we have constant memories, because brain cells do not change." And for many, many years, the scientists have held on to that theory to point out that something in this body is permanent, that we have got continuous memory. These are there in our old philosophies also. There is continuous memory because brain. Now they've discovered that brain also changes. So every part of your physical body undergoes change. But when we see the senses, the eyes, the nose, the tongue, the skin, the 5 sense organs, sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. Sound and touch. These are the 5 sense organs through which we get perception of the world. Apply this a little bit diversion to marketing. That food which tastes good, hears good, feels good, is it not? Looks good is the best selling item. Isn't it? Presentation not good? The same thing. That same idli and sambar in a smaller quantity at a larger price, sold in a gourmet restaurant and sold in an Udupi or Woodlands. Which fetches a bigger price? Yeah? Small cocktail idli with 1 drop of chutney, with a little capsicum put on the top, given in a beautiful crockery, 1 tiny piece, appetizer. You'll be spending how much on that? While you go to an Udupi restaurant, such big chunky idlis. Oh, now I don't know. When we used to have it, used to be 10 paise. Now it is 10 rupees. But that little cocktail idli in a 5-star hotel is not at all. It will be about 250. Presentation. Why are you ready to pay that? Appealing to the, not just the taste, eyes also. See? Therefore, see how the complete understanding. If you have to understand that we experience everything. Food is not just all about taste. Yeah? It's about all the 5 senses. So you see how important that knowledge is. Otherwise, I cook such good food, nobody is ready to pay money. But when you look at the presentation, sambar falling out of the katori, yeah, into the dish, the dish wet, the dish is crooked. When you go to these Udupi restaurants, the whole presentation is not marketable. But yet the idlis are the tastiest. Yet you will not pay a price for that tasty idli. Why? It doesn't satisfy your other senses. So anything that satisfies all your five senses, that's why knowledge of all five senses, and you have to see. That's why we used to think Gurudev is making fun of us. Swami Chinmaya is making fun of all the North Indian. You people just eat with your fingers and just tip of your finger or with smoke this. And yet we all know that when you eat with your hand, it is really enjoyable. Why? Because you're feeling the texture with your body. Tomorrow when we'll see the different type of food, you'll be surprised that by the very nature of the food, when you touch it, the temperature of it, etc., you're already experiencing the food. So understand, these are the five sense organs. But our five sense organs, physical, we think this is the eyes. But very often, just like in the class, no? Yes? Your eyes are open, but you see nobody. Have you seen your dads? Mummy screaming and shouting, but he hears nothing. Yeah? So ears are open, even in class, no? Class, wow, especially when we are in school. I run a school, no? You're an international school. It's amazing. The children come every morning for their spiritual classes, where all this is taught to them every morning. Okay, with in the 7 years, how much they gave. Every morning is taught to them, and they will be sitting there, eyes absolutely open. With the eyes shut, the teacher will tell them. It's so unready that even if you crack a joke, then somebody laughs. Yeah? They'll ask, your eyes are not the seer, there is someone else seeing, isn't it? So when they started inquiring that who is the seer, they realized if the mind is not there, even now, don't tell me every word I am saying you're hearing. No, you're not. That's why they're recording it. Otherwise, Swamiji never said that at all. So when it comes in your paper for examination, yeah, did he talk about it at all? Why? If your mind is not there, even though your senses, you're hearing, but you're not listening. Your eyes are open, you're seeing the form, but you're not grasping the form. Is it not? So then they recognize that there's another factor called as mind. And if this mind is not there, the senses don't experience. If senses are not there, body is nothing, it's just a flesh. Yeah? So what gives life to this body is the mind. That's how they discovered. And when they started inquiring what is the mind, they recognize mind is also changing. That we don't have to say anything, no? Yeah? How quickly our mind changes. I decided to come for this course, now I decided that I don't. Yeah? Mind is changing, no? Constantly. Very interesting. No? I met one, I was somewhere and I met these two girls who were talking with each other. One girl was saying, how's your fiancé? She said, no, we separated. I said, what? You broke your engagement? She said, yes. I said, why? She said, my feelings about him changed. So I said, but are you going to return the engagement ring, which was a diamond ring? She said, feelings about that has not changed. So mind, feelings are also changing. Now, many people also then started thinking, and even now scientists are looking into it because their inquiries, they are just starting. Ancient people had inquired into that also. And they said that mind is changing, but it's a permanent factor. How? For example, a river, moment to moment is changing, but the river is always there. So even though mind appears to be a permanent factor, it is a changing factor. No single moment is the water in the river at a point the same. And that's why when they started inquiring about the mind, they recognized that mind is made up of thoughts. Content of mind is thought. Mind is made up of thought. But a thought is not the mind. A gathering of thoughts is not the mind. For example, that a drop of water is not a river. Not even a pool of water is a river. River is a continuous flow of water. In the same way, mind is a continuous flow of thoughts. It's very important to understand about the mind. Mind is a continuous flow of thoughts, just as the river is a continuous flow of water. But mind is also constantly changing. And what did they find out? That each thought dies, a new thought is born. Then what is it that binds all these thoughts together like a string in a necklace? Each pearl is separate, but what holds it together? Each thought is different. One thought rises, another thought goes. Even though there is sequential thoughts, we are going to deep of these various discoveries. Each sequential, they say each thought passes on, but our thoughts are erratic. Now you might be thinking about Atma, but somebody is immediately thinking about food, and just when you thought about food, suddenly you start thinking about Michael Jackson. So where is the sequence of thought that one thought kind of transfers itself to another, like genetic passing? It's not. Each thought is different, and our thoughts can go erratically at different areas. What binds them together to give you experience of one whole? That's why the question is Kenishitam patati preshitam mana. In Kena Upanishad, the question is mind independent? Is mind itself the knower consciousness? Or is there something other than the mind which allows the mind to function, because of which there is some unity in my thoughts? What is that unseen string that binds all the pearls together of experience? Because mind is a flow of thoughts. Each thoughts come and go. What is it that binds them together? They started inquiring. And they recognized that just as this body, like any other object, is seen, it's an object of my experience, so is the prana an object of my experience. So as also my faculties of seeing, hearing, etc. are an object of my experience. How do you know that now you can't see very clearly? You need spectacles. Or when you hear your grandmother's going, what happened, grandmother? Can't hear properly. You know your senses. Your senses are an object. They're not the subject. Plus they are constantly changing. You are knower of that change. And that's how they started recognizing that there is something other than the mind also. And this is not something that you will find out later. Inquire now. You can experience it now. This is not post-mortem. It's not a theory. It's not a postulate. Can you right now see your mind understanding, not understanding, confused? Do you know it or not? How many of you understood what I said? Put your hands up. Hands up, hands up. Okay. How many of you little understood? How many of you didn't understand anything at all? Okay, fine. But how do you know that you understood or you did not understand?
You try to recollect it.
Are you aware of it or not? That at this moment your mind is understanding or not understanding. Are you aware of it or not? Clear? So even your mind is an object of your awareness. Because your direct knowledge is, I am aware that my mind is confused. I am aware that my mind is understanding. I am aware that I understood little. Which means what? I am someone other than the mind. Right? Body cannot function without prana. Prana cannot function without mind. If mind was you, there was never a time that you would not be able to give up the mind. Can you give up the mind? Can you remain without thinking? All your life, what have you been doing? Thinking. Huh? In sleep, where are your thoughts? Where are your feelings? But do you exist or you're non-existent? We exist. Even when the mind is not functioning, we exist. Only in sleep, we don't recognize it. In meditation, you create the complete atmosphere of sleep where there is no mind, but you are awake. That's where you experience that I exist apart from the mind. This me, which is knower of the changes even of the mind, who has no other knower, and that's why you cannot know it as an object. You just know that I know. But can you say that I know myself? I, the knower, and myself are not two different things. This is a very subtle knowledge. But one thing becomes very clear, that I, who am the knower of the change, am permanent. When I identify with the mind, as the mind changes, I also change. Like when you jump into the river is flowing fast, you will flow fast. If the river is flowing slow, you flow slow. Is it not? So it is the mind which is changing, but I am aware of the change. Therefore, I am changeless. This I, which is changeless, therefore permanent. This I, which is changeless, therefore permanent, which is of the nature of consciousness awareness, and what is happiness? If you ask anybody what is happiness, we don't have any answer, really speaking. But let me ask you one question. What is sorrow? Tell me. What is sorrow? When do you experience sorrow?
When you're not happy. When we have.
Very nice. What is X? It is not B.
Yeah,
Huh?
when you don't get what you want.
When you don't get what you want. Now this is a very important deduction I'm explaining to you logically. Yeah? Just pay attention. Sorrow you experience when you don't get what you want. Where does want arise from?
Is it a natural desire?
No, there are natural and there are unnatural desire. But even your natural desire arises out of what?
After seeing others having it?
Something that you don't have, is it not? Do you desire your own hand? Today I'm desiring somebody else's hand, of course. Yeah? But do you desire your own hand? You desire what you don't have, isn't it? You desire what you don't have. Therefore, desire arises from a sense of incompleteness. Correct? From a sense of finitude, limitedness, is it not? So if you equate, sorrow is equal to finite. Therefore happiness will be equal to infinite. Infinite is happiness. Okay? Now, if happiness is not the nature of the object, happiness is the nature of the what? Subject. Yeah. When we inquired into the subject, we came to recognize that I am the awareness which is permanent, unchanging, because I am aware of all the change, isn't it? Clear? Because I am aware of all the change, therefore I am permanent. And if, think about it, if happiness is not the nature of object, it can be coming from somewhere, it's the nature of the subject. Which means what? I am. If happiness is equal to infinite and happiness is equal to me, then happiness is infinite and therefore me is what? Me is infinite. Yes.
By me, you refer to the Atma?
Yes. That I which is awareness. Atma means I. I means me, what you know as me. But at this moment, when we inquire, I recognize that I am something other than the body, mind, pranas, senses. Is it not? I recognize I am other than all this. Therefore, I am permanent. Sat. I am always conscious that even I slept, I am conscious. Mind not there, I am conscious. I am understanding, I am conscious. I am not understanding also, I am conscious. So I am permanent consciousness, Sat and Chit. Yeah. And I am infinite. And what is happiness? Ananda and Ananta, both are one and the same. This is what they discovered, who I am. This is the Atma. Atma is not something else. Atma is me. Okay? Scriptures say it, those who realize say it, and when you logically deduct, you come to this conclusion logically. If you followed the logic, have you come to this conclusion or not?
Yes.
Now logically you try to disapprove it. Only thing is, but I don't experience it. Then what can be the cause of it? If I am infinite, my nature is bliss, I am permanent. Logically, when I inquire, I see that. Scriptures say it very clearly. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Vedanitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. They say it. Men and women of realization have said it. Logically, when it is deducted to me, I understand. But I don't experience it. Is it not? What is my experience? I'm born, I'm dying, and in between I celebrate my birthday, which I enjoy. I'm born, I'm dying, I perish because I am considering myself to be the body. Therefore, I am not infinite is out of my identification with the body. Not becoming the body. Identification with the body. For example, what is marriage? A signature? A piece of paper? Going around the fire? Is that called as marriage? Before marriage, you and he or she lived apart from each other. You didn't even know each other. What happened after marriage? What happens after divorce? Or before divorce? Identification, isn't it? You identify with something as I or my. Very often we say this is my body. But what we actually saying is body is I. We say my body, but tell me when I say this is my mala, if anything happens to mala, happens to me. If my dog has got diarrhea, do I keep running in and out of the toilet?
No.
My dog has got diarrhea, not me. My body is changing. My body is growing old. My body is perishing. But I am ever constant. I am ever same. When this knowledge takes place, I do not fear even death. I am not insecure about change. Isn't it? I don't go wild because I know I am permanent. Body is not. Now just see. We'll see what is this relevance to our life. Okay, we are living this life without this knowledge. We're living our life without this knowledge. Top business people in the world are managing so beautiful and making a lot of money without this knowledge. Why do I need this knowledge of this Atma? Okay, great. You said something wonderful about me. Thank God you didn't criticize that you are a sinner, you're going to be damned to hell, no? And you'll be burning in hell for eternity. Great, you didn't tell me that. You told me that I am infinite. Isn't it? You told me that. Wow, wonderful, very nice. But I tell you, when we criticize, no, people like it. When somebody is saying so wonderful about you, camera should be on your faces. There's no delight that you are infinite. And in every religion of the world, what is the definition of God? Common definition of God.
God is
Everywhere.
God is one.
Infinite, isn't it? Yeah? Any religion that says God is not infinite? The definition of infinite may be different. But everybody says God is infinite. And what did you just discover now?
We are infinite.
So therefore, who are you?
We are God.
Blasphemy! You are God? How can you be God?
I am infinite.
If I am infinite, God is infinite, can two infinite exist? Coexist?
So we are one.
Can two exist? Now you understand what I told to that guy in the train? That the substratum of the universe is the seer of the universe. इस जगत का जो दृष्टा है वो इस जगत का अधिष्ठान है. I told him in Hindi, so even more worse. That the consciousness, who is the seer of the world, that is I. When I say substratum of the world means, just as gold is the substratum of the ornament, what is the substratum of the waves? Mud is the substratum of the pot. means its cause. Substratum means the cause. So who's the cause of the world? Those who can see it, tell it with conviction. Who is the cause of the world? I am the cause, at least I can understand, of my own world. Let's take it very relatively. The day your mind is depressed, dejected, how do you see the world? So there seems to be a God-created world and your own created world, isn't it? Yeah. Others tell you, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. You go on saying you are a failure. You are a failure. You will be a failure, is it not? You are at this moment what your mind thinks. Not what you are, but what your mind thinks. That's why all the modern books that you have on management are using this principle that the whole creation that you are experiencing, your success, your failure, your miseries, your joys, your achievements, all depends on your thought. Everything depends on your thought. And therefore they keep on saying, have you read books like Secret and all that, Think you're successful. Think you're successful now. Think you're successful and you'll become successful. Partly true. If you think you're a failure, you'll be a failure. You think you can't do something, you will never do it. That's why I said, mind is the manager of your life. Mind is the manager of your life, but you are the director of the mind. Got it? You are the director of the mind. That you have to understand. Otherwise, you become the slave of the mind. Now you will think how knowledge that Sri Krishna applied in the battlefield for Arjuna. Arjuna was a highly successful warrior, a soldier, archer. That's his profession. Don't say Gita says fight, 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 fight. Gita is talking of archer. He's a soldier. Arjuna is highly successful. Not that he doesn't have basic knowledge of all this. He's had it. But he's never applied it. He's a highly successful person, but his success depends on what? The effort he has put into his skill. It's essential. Don't think it's not, The talents that he has created, the training that he has given to his body. To be an archer, you need the body, is it not? To develop your muscles to be able to stretch the bow, today all you have to do is pull a trigger. What warriors we have. Those days, to stretch that bow so that the arrow gets, the bow must have a lot of tension in it. So, you have to develop your muscles. You and I tried bow. Have you tried our bows? We shoot. First of all, we can't even pull. We have our youth camps regularly, so we have one of them is archery also. All these talents they have to develop. So, basically to hit the target, reach the goal, not archery, but we use archery rather than guns and bullets, which have got totally different connotation today. Yeah. So we use. So then you see that even those baby bows, not war bows, you try to pull. First of all, you can't pull because your muscles don't have any tension, is it not? But those who have got the muscles, they can definitely hit faster. But that's not enough. You need the muscles, but at the same time, you have to be able to, with your mind, hold on to the target, is it not? So you must have focus, and that's why the beautiful example is given in the Mahabharata, that when Dronacharya gave them a test, he gave them the test without actually making them do the paper. There's no point. The worst, the most horrific, the most tedious thing for any teacher teaching in school is not teaching, but correcting examination papers. That's why the best thing is never give a test. But if you don't give a test, how do you know they are ready for it or not? So there's a big dilemma for teachers. If you ever become a teacher, the most horrible thing is correcting papers. Dronacharya was an expert teacher. If you know that the person is going to fail, why give him a test? Yeah, but how do you know? Why don't you give him a try? So he had kept one paper or some wooden bird on a tree and said that you have to hit the eye of the bird. This theory is very famous about focus. He first called Duryodhana, then even Yudhishthira, etc. And each one said, what do you see? One said, I see the tree, on the tree I see a branch, on the branch I see the bird, and on the bird I see the eye. Many of them didn't see the eye only, they saw the bird. Or they saw the tree. This is also very important. We don't hit the bull's eye. We are not focused on our goal. The unnecessary things become more important to us. Don't they? The paraphernalia becomes more important. You went to take a job to make money, isn't it? Then when you go there, if that is your purpose, you make the money, isn't it? But now, you know what? Everybody in the office does not appreciate my dress. What has that got to do with your going to that office? But that becomes important or not? I'm not happy here. No job satisfaction. Because nobody actually, praises me. Not focused. Arjuna just said, I see only the eye of the bird. And Dronacharya said, shoot. All this Arjuna achieved with his body, his mind. He trained his body. He trained his mind. If you don't develop the skills, you can go, got a degree in management, but you've never managed anything. And you can go there. You don't have the skills. You may be as motivated as you may be. You will develop the skills. But you don't have the skills. Arjuna had developed all the skills. He had the inspiration. He had the dedication. He was clear about his goal also. That's why whatever he did was with conviction. Arjuna did everything with conviction. He was always successful. Wherever he went, he was victorious. You've never heard of Arjuna being defeated. As much as Karna used to go on boasting of, Karna was defeated in every battle. Every single battle he was defeated. But Arjuna was never defeated in any battle. He's a highly successful person. But this success was built on his body, mind, skill development. Get that? Why was the knowledge of the Atma necessary for him? Tell me. Why was it necessary? Think. Why was it necessary for him? Do you see any use of it? Why do you think it was necessary? If we want to achieve significance from success, very few people in this world develop the skills for success. Amongst those who also develop the skills, very few have the right attitude. You don't have to necessarily the right attitude, focus, etc. But those who have skill and attitude, they attain success. But this is temporary success. Someone is more skillful than you, somebody is stronger than you, you will have to accept defeat in front of that person. Is it not? You will not get what you want. And if your happiness depends on what you want and not on yourself, then all the time you cannot be happy. You get the point? All the time you cannot be happy. Now look at Arjuna's condition. He comes into the battlefield, but suddenly a conflict takes place in it. He is going to face the most challenging situation in his life, where he is not fighting warriors who are in any way less in their skill, their capacity, their experience, their dedication, etc. In fact, one is his grandfather, who is his teacher also, and one is his teacher. And both were not consultants. They were actual practitioners. They have taught him, and as much as a student thinks I know more than my teacher, the teacher always knows more than the student. And these were not ordinary warriors themselves. Then there are others to deal with, whom he didn't think much of, but he knows they were challenged, like Karna, Duryodhana, etc. Most and foremost was these two people. And life decisions are not easy to make. Whenever great opportunities come, along with great opportunities come great sacrifices also. Very often you girls, for your career, will have to sacrifice your family, or for your family may have to sacrifice your career. What do you decide to sacrifice at that? Sometimes you can have both. Then you have to sacrifice something else, your health. How do you make a decision? Plus, up to a certain amount with your body, your mind, you have a certain strength. How do you excel your strength? Arjuna had fought many other warriors, but fighting Bhishma and Drona were not an easy task. And deep down he knew Karna was not an easy task also, though he has defeated. I'm giving you this example from the epic to understand that this knowledge, how it was applied. Arjuna comes to the battlefield, and here his conflict is that if we only think of our body strengths, then Arjuna, in front of Bhishma and Drona, in his talent, could be a little short. Not too short, but a little short. Possible. But when Arjuna comes to the battlefield, the outcome of the war, the want of success, brings about an anxiety in him. A dual anxiety. What if I do not win this battle? What if I do not win this battle? Second is that to win this battle, I have to kill many dear and near ones. It's a warrior, mind you. This is not talking about just killing someone to get what you want. The way they're sometimes comparing the Gita with the terrorism, how stupid can people be? A soldier's duty is to protect his country. Like many of the police were killed in the terrorist attack. It is the duty of the policeman to protect the civilians, but that he has to even shoot. But what while shooting, the mask falls out and he finds that the terrorist is his own son. What does he do at that time? Should he allow his son to kill all the other people? Or should he kill his son then?
Kill his son.
Very easy to say, but when you are in that situation, yeah. We all know our duties, but when it comes to performance of our duties, where do we get the strength from? Arjuna also very well knew that if Duryodhana continues to rule, one who could do this to his own sister-in-law, one who could do this to his own brothers, yeah, what would he do to society? It is not a battle about my kingdom. It is now that I am capable to re-establish proper rule in society. He knows he has to fight. His duty knows that he has to fight. What happened to Arjuna 70? And before the battle, he was very clear he has to fight. And this was the greatest opportunity for a warrior. Number one, you are fighting for the right cause, which is dharma. Everybody makes their own cause and calls it right. That's different. You are fighting against evil. You are fighting for the right cause. You are fighting with the right means. Today also, many of our Jawans, many people go to the army because it's good money, comfortable life. But no Jawan feels satisfied till he's called to the front to protect his country. Not kill, but to protect his country. And if he's not called and put in some office work, a soldier is never happy. If he's a soldier, is it not? He's not happy, he's not satisfied. If you're just going to be satisfied with just a little bit of a job and running one small little company, if you have the talent, if you have the ability, you have the ambition, you have the drive, but you'll find that you still cannot because you do not have that strength. Sacrifices sometimes that you have to make. And that also without losing your ethics. How do you do it? Arjuna at that moment is questioning the ethics of the war at that time. In this war, not only evil people will die, but even good people are going to die. Good were an example, role models to society. Such a great loss is going to take place. Confusion about ethics. Confusion about duty. What is my duty? So what if I give up my soldier and I go and meditate in the Himalayas? Isn't that better to do? So when you wanted kingdom, you fight. And now when the kingdom wants you, I'm going to meditate in the Himalayas. Noble profession. Why kill? Why talk about money all the time? How people suddenly become very saintly? Arjuna wants to become like that. You see, Krishna would say, Krishna is God, tap him on his shoulder and say, good boy, you become spiritual. Give up this management course. Come to the ashram. Krishna gives him one cake. Mighty cake. You know what Krishna calls it? What in Bombay you call it, Those who keep clapping their hands. Eunuch. He says neither you can get up and fight, neither you sit and cry like a woman. In between, Arjuna could not. He was totally confused, confounded. And here is the greatest opportunity in his life and one of the greatest challenges. Greatest opportunities might be greatest of challenges. How could he have the clarity of thought? As we started off, if body is me, then survival of the body becomes priority. See Arjuna's mind, how it is working. From the body standpoint, I will die and my dear and near ones will die. Both are great loss. Many people don't want to see the death of their near and dear ones, which is worse for them. They say, rather I die. Like any mother, father will say, rather I die than my children die. Is it not? Don't they say that? It's either Arjuna dies or these people die. There's no two way about this battle. Earlier battles he fought with them. It was about just winning. It was not killing. This battle cannot be without either the Kauravas die or the Pandavas die. Otherwise this war is not going to end. How is it going to end? His identification with the body, that for whom we come, suppose he claims very, very socially that I am not fighting this battle for myself. I don't want the kingdom, which he says. I don't want the kingdom, etc. But for these children, for whom I am doing all these things, they are also going to die in the battlefield. Then for whom am I doing it? So for the immediate bodies, see our identification of the body. His vision became so small that he was only thinking about the birth and death of this body, pleasures about this body, though that was not the purpose of the war. I'm just giving you this example and then you see how it relates to your life also. It was not the purpose of the war. The purpose of war was that protection of the country had to take place, including their own. It was more self-defense, which is dharma. But he suddenly thinks, they will die, I will die. These people whom we are doing it for is going to die. From what standpoint did he analyze the situation? Body. So if all the people are going to die, then what's the use of this war? Yeah? Physical standpoint, see? Then started thinking, after all, these are my relatives. Emotional standpoint, mind. Then starts thinking, is it worth, because such good, evil will die is good, but such good people will die. Ethics of the war, even if they are on the wrong side. He doesn't see that. That if Duryodhana and all win the battle, what ethics are you protecting? See? So from all these standpoints, Arjuna is confused. What did Krishna do? First explain to him that you are concerned that they will die and you will die. Krishna did not go and say, give him a lecture on duties. He did not give him a lecture on ethics. He didn't tell him why you should do it, how you should do it. First thing Krishna says is, who are you? And Arjuna's question is, they are going to die, I am going to die. Either of us are going to die. He says, first of all, every body one day has to die. But nobody ever dies. See, it's clear, same words. Huh? Every body dies, but nobody dies. Because the Atma, the self, never dies. When this knowledge is there, to perform your duties, you will never shine. Is it not? If our soldiers were to think that I am fighting on the battlefield But there, will I get a comfortable bed? You will never take such a person in your army, will you? Interview, when you have interviews with people, see what you say and what others say. Why you are selected and why you will not select someone. If somebody comes to you for an interview and you say, look at the person's CV, and you see that that person has hopped from one company after another company in the last 10 years about 7 times, will you hire that person or fire that person? What would you do? There are different theories to this. First, Bhagavan points out to Achyuta, Najayate mriyate va kadachid. Understand, this Atma is neither born nor it ever dies. And so till today, the ethics of the Indian army round the world is considered to be the supreme most, because deep down underlining our army, this philosophy that I don't die. If you think you're only the body, then hook or by crook, eat, drink, sleep, be merry. Every religion points out that there is heaven and hell. We'll discuss that later. No? It's because of the fear of heaven and hell that in this life people do not sin. Is it not? Because afterwards you have to suffer for the small pleasures you get out of your sin. Therefore imagine the continuity of the soul even discussed by religion illogically in some places has got the benefit of a person not doing something which is harmful to himself, herself or to others. See how the knowledge makes a difference. The knowledge that I do not die and life is progressive. Mind is progressive. Even a theory of eternal hell and eternal heaven is not inspiring. But if I don't die, then whatever I do, I must do my best so that I can continue in the next life, or I am going to suffer in the next life. That knowledge itself makes you do your present better. See its application. Do you know how many marriages I have saved with only one promise that I take from them? Which is the first thing you promise in marriage, in a wedding. These days, every second house that you see around the world, including India, is divorce. Why is it this happen? You mean to say your parents were happy in marriage, your grandparents were happy in marriage, your great-great-grandparents were happy in marriage, but they did not divorce. They made their marriage work. How? Because they knew that once you marry, there is no way out of it. Anybody who comes and we are unhappy in marriage, we are divorcing. I said, yes, if you're unhappy, divorce now. But if you want your marriage to survive, I'm telling you one thing. Do not talk about separation or divorce. Do not even talk, because funny thing is, when you know you have to live with it, you will find a way. Is it not? If you recognize, what is there? Man, woman get together, meet each other, get separated from each other. What is it? Why wedding? For the relationship to last, you have to have that commitment. What I'm trying to tell you is that how do you focus on your goal? Arjuna has pointed out here what is the Atma. Number one, if Atma never dies, then to perform your duty, do not even compromise if you have to die for it. Such a person will have courage. And what is the fancy management name for courage? Confidence. Is it not? Up till now, Arjuna knew nobody can defeat him. That he knew. And it appeared that he is not afraid of death. But everybody, even the greatest warrior, is afraid of death. If you identify with the body and think my existence depends upon the body. Only those warriors can go for but two things. Either love for their country and readiness to sacrifice, or the feeling, I don't die. Or it will benefit me in the form of my children, etc. All the notion that I go through my children. Basically, it's for this I only. And if I know I don't die, I care. If I know I'm going to die, I don't care. What will happen to the world? This is what is happening to the environment. Their philosophy is, as long as I live, the earth is going to be fine. So let me chop down all the trees for my use, make money, enjoy. What will happen to the next generation? Who cares? Nowadays they don't even have children. My children are not going to be there. Therefore, why do I care? See how the whole action takes place? Thus, once we know that this Atma is permanent, this Atma is everlasting. It does not die when this body dies. One thing, I become fearless. Second, that if I am not going to suffer, because I am of the nature of happiness, therefore my happiness does not become dependent on the world of objects. Not even on money does my happiness depend. Money is required to sustain the body, but money cannot guarantee me happiness. Thus, when I go to a job, my happiness is not dependent on the job. That is independent. My comfort is dependent on the job. But my happiness is not dependent on the comfort either. See how this knowledge helps? There are two business communities in India. Very well-known business communities. I won't take names, but I'm sure you understand. Both earn a lot of money. One lavishly squanders it in show. Others are called kanjoos, misers. But the way they play in the stock market, the other community cannot. Because their lifestyle is fixed. How much money you make, their lifestyle does not change. Thus they can make a lot of money. You might think, what is the purpose of it? That's a different story. They make and they can invest a lot of their money. Again, investment, that is also interesting. If your happiness does not depend on sense objects, you are no longer a slave to work. Is it not? Then you work for a different purpose. Then you work to express your potential. At this moment, you're not, everybody will scream that, their company is not using me. But are you using yourself fully? Are you using yourself completely? How many of you have noticed how many plants, different types of plants are there on your campus? And yet all of you want to go to Ooty or sightseeing. How many of you walked on the race course and see that every plant that exists in Ooty exists there? Are we using our senses properly? That's why we need excitement of the senses. Is it not? If you're not happy at home, then you want to go to nightclubs. Does it happen or not? If you are satisfied with yourself, by yourself, and such a person is not dependent on anything and anyone in the world. Today we think we are the body and therefore we are dependent for its survival. If you are dependent on survival, you are dependent on things. You depend on things, you are dependent on money. Therefore your whole focus is money, 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 money. Success is money. Job is money. Study is for money. And yet all the time what you want is happiness. Are we managing our life properly? Arjuna realizes whether I win this battle or don't win this battle, happiness is not guaranteed. So now tell me, Krishna, how will I get this happiness? By fighting the battle or not fighting the battle? Krishna said, by neither fighting nor not fighting. But fight you must because it is your duty. But your happiness does not depend on that. Understand it is the nature of the self. With that knowledge, when you fight even in the world, neither you are the killer nor can you get killed. Because Atma does not die. Na hanyate hanyamanesh. It's very deep knowledge. You'll be wondering, in management, how are you going to use it? You'll see its application tomorrow. But I'm giving you how Krishna applied it to Arjuna. Now again, when you say Arjuna, battlefield, whatever. But you will be facing this battlefield. One side your company is drowning, on the other side there is chances for corruption. What are you going to do? You have to make a decision. Many lives are at stake. Have you studied the company Enron? Have you studied the company Enron? No? Very interesting. The entire bullish market in the Wall Street. First, the boundaries were broken by this company Enron and became the example for corporate business, expansions, acquisitions, etc. And when it collapsed, you don't even today know the name of that. In the 80s, Enron was the company. And today, nobody wants to even talk about that company. I'll give you one incident from that company. And you have to make decisions like this. On what basis are you going to make the decision? Yeah? That's why that knowledge is necessary. So now the next session, we will proceed with this knowledge, and then you will have to think on the subjects for tomorrow and see how it applies to all this at every stage of your life, at your body, at your mind, with your emotions. Then only when you're dealing in the company, some say keep the company very formal, some say keep the company like a family. What are you supposed to do? How are you going to manage it? Especially HR, most of you HR students, isn't it? Without understanding the human being, marketing of human resources, do you know what it becomes? A trade. And around the world, human resources have become a trade. Isn't it? This is a very strong statement. Might not sound nice at all. Do you understand what I want to say? What is human trade called in this world? When someone is sold for money, it has become like that. Where the human is gone. We're bringing out the potential in the human is gone. Humans are being traded. They're a commodity. Is that what HR is all about? That is what Krishna's question and Arjuna's question and answer session is about. Are human beings a commodity? Can they be sacrificed for your goals? You said, You see the potential of that knowledge, you will be shocked. Yeah? So we'll see its application as we go. Now we'll have a break for 1 hour so that you can go for your lunch. We meet at sharp 2 o'clock. Don't be late, sharp 2 o'clock. Then we'll end our sessions at 3:30 sharp. So have your lunch, relax, think over what has been heard, because I'll give you in the ending also questions, because you want to see its application. Obviously that's going to be your main question. I've given you some hints of it. But only tonight when you think over it, then in the field that you want to apply in your life, as well as in your work, then only you'll be able to correlate it. Otherwise, it remains as a theory. I have given its usage through different examples, but those examples may not be relevant to you. The principles are relevant. The examples may not. Therefore, the Gita was talking about some situational solution. Then it wouldn't be relevant today. It gets to the basic of our problems, the basic problem. That we will see in the session. That where lies our basic problem and what is the solution. Once you've learned to apply it at this level, you can apply it at any level of your life, with any confusions of your life. So once you know the principle, then you apply it. So we shall meet later. Yeah? So think over it. If you have any questions today, if you have not understood what I have said today, and tomorrow you bring in your thoughts, how you are going to apply it to your various studies today, how you are going to apply it to your life, how do you think you will apply it to the so-called goals that you have thought of. There is where you will find maybe this doesn't apply. I'm speaking to managers, and I'll tell you later on what once they came up and told me. It was quite amusing that how they understood what I had said and how they wanted to apply it. And they were talking about modern marketing and saying that everything that I'm saying is modern marketing. And I said, no, that's not what I am saying. And I showed him what is proper marketing. And these were people from one of the biggest companies in India. I'll give you an example of it, then you'll understand that how, if we take part principles, how our marketing will be. Very interesting it is, so how to apply this Gita principles. It's very interesting.